Oh, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you for being here for uh, the foundational class, course 5 on how karma works. And today we are doing a little bit from class 5 and class 6 on karma and emptiness. So before we get started, please take a moment and uh, think about why it is that you're here. What motivated you to come to class today, to take this course, to take this class? As we've been learning about karma, the more clear we are on our motivation for doing anything, um, the stronger our karma, the karmic seed that we create can be. So let's try to make the seeds that we're planting as powerful as possible. And as big as possible. Tashi Puki Jukshin Me Tok Drang Rira Bling Shi Nyinde Kempadi Sangye Shindu Mikte Uwargi Jokun Namdak Shingla Chupar Sho Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami Sangye Chiran Soki Chuknam La Changchu Partu Dakni Kapsuchi Daki Chushe Kipe Sunam Ki Drola Pinshir Sangye Juparsho Sangye Chiran Soki Chuknam La Changchu Pardu Dakni Kyapsu Chi Daki Chishe Kipe Sunam Ki Chola Penchir Sangye Duparsho Sangye Chiran Soki Chuknam La Changchu Pardu Dakni Kyapsu Chi Daki Chishe Kipe Sunam Ki Jola Benshir Sangye Juparsho. So before we get started on the content, does anyone have any questions from what we've covered before? Okay, my brilliant students, we will continue on then. So I have just a little bit more to share with you about uh, from the fifth class, where we dipped our toe into the mind-only school. So I just wanted to say again that the way that the middle way, the highest school of the middle way, uh, what they say is going on when we plant a karma is basically it's so similar to what the mind only school says. Their only concern is this whole idea of a foundation consciousness, right? The consequence branch of the middle way, the prasangika, they say there's no need for uh, for a whole nother consciousness, for the foundation consciousness to exist, to hold karma. That the the bakchaks, the karmic seeds, the potentials are carried, if you will, on the stream of moments of the simple me, the simple unexamined me. Because that thought is running like all the time. You know, we are self-conscious beings. Uh, and then otherwise they say that tope taksam, that um, everything is um, labeled by our conceptions. Now they say that there are things upon which we place a label, that something appears to us and it it indicates to us um, uh, what it is, and then we place a label onto it. So with our idea of the angry boss, um, the the red circle of the face, the decibels coming from the littler circle inside the circle, uh, that those are indicators on which we place the label angry boss. Um, and that as we do that, um, however it is that we respond to this, what we are labeling as angry boss and what we are labeling as being yelled at, how we respond um, as that, as our response comes to its conclusion, if we yell back, for example, as that comes to a conclusion, then that the power of that action uh, plants a seed in that continuation of the simple me. So the last part of your last homework question has to do with what in the mind only school replies and said, well, it's the Buddha who said everything is mind only. So what's your problem? There should be no problem with this consciousness that appears as angry boss, and that it is just that you're looking at your own mind. And the consequence branch of the middle way gives two answers. The first one is from a negative point of view, and the second is from a positive point of view. So, from the negative point of view, the consequence branch of the middle way says that the Buddha said everything is mind only because he was negating the possibility of a creator God, of an all-powerful being that creates everything in the universe. There's no the consequence branch of the middle way says there's no God, no powerful being that is saying, oh, I want these people here to have their homes flooded out and die and perish by drowning. And I want these people over here to get cancer and die. And I want these people over here to be in war and shooting each other and to live in terror. There's no being that's creating all of this suffering. It's us who create our suffering through our actions of body, speech, and mind. Not a creator being, not a creator God. And then in a positive sense, the Buddhist said that everything is mind only because it is primarily our mind, the movement of our mind that creates our world. Which is a very hopeful answer. If everything was created by a creator being of some sort, an all-powerful being, then there would be nothing we could do to change our experience, our future experience, because it is what we do, the movement of our mind and what we inspire from that. We can create a future experience that is without suffering. And it is possible. So that's how this benefits us. And now that we know how karma functions in this way, we have to be careful. We have to be mindful of how we're being in the world, as mindful as possible. And we can train ourselves to be more and more mindful about our actions, about our thoughts, and about our actions and our speech. We make mistakes. I make mistakes. That's what the practice of these teachings is about, is making we make mistakes, we learn how to catch them more and more quickly so that we don't actually make them. Maybe something, maybe we're about to yell back at somebody who yells at us, and instead we hold ourselves back. So the practice becomes one of restraining ourselves from committing actions that will harm others and will create harm for ourselves in the future, and instead do actions that benefit others, which will benefit ourselves in the future. So now you should be able to complete your homework for class 5. Any questions about any of that? The seeds are transferred and planted in the unexamined me. Yes, that's according to the consequence branch of the middle way. That's how they describe what Master Chandrakirti meant when he said that that karma is carried in the stream of mind, in the mind stream, in those subsequent moments of mind. They clarify it to say that it's the simple unexamined me. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. Let's continue on. And today we're going to talk about uh, karma and emptiness. And uh, in this class, we talk about one of my favorite things from these courses, and that is something from Lord Maitreya. Oh my goodness. Still sharing impaired, I tell you. There it is. Okay. Sorry. So we're going to get a presentation from Chandrakirti. In Tibetan, his name is Tawad Drakpa. So Master Chandrakirti was someone who wrote about Arya Nagarjuna's work. And Arya Nagarjuna was the one who presented the Buddhist teachings, especially about the nature of reality, that has come to be known as the Middle Way School. Arya Nagarjuna wrote in a very, very poetic way. And if you've ever read any of his work, it's difficult to know without having a teacher what it is that Nagarjuna is really saying. And Master Chandrakirti wrote commentary on Arya Nagarjuna's work called The Root Text on Wisdom. So Chandrakirti lived in about 650 current era. And then along with his point of view, we're going to study one of my favorite things, and it's by Maitreya. So Maitreya is a bodhisattva. There is some debate in the scripture about whether or not he is a fully enlightened being. But regardless, he would still be a bodhisattva, which is a very advanced being, you know. To be on the first level of the stages of a bodhisattva, you have in your heart always 24/7, you have this wish to be of highest benefit to all beings. You are driven by this motivation in everything you do. It's forefront in your mind. And they have also seen emptiness directly. So they bodhisattvas are extraordinary beings. So the story is with there are 5 great books by Lord Maitreya, and the story is that Asanga, who is the brother of Master Vasubandhu, who wrote the Abhidharmakosha. So Asanga is his brother, and that Asanga, also a very high level being, he went to Maitreya's paradise. Bodhisattvas can still have a paradise at certain levels. So anyway, he went there, and basically they say he transcribed Lord Maitreya as he was teaching. And so the 5 books of Maitreya were written down by Asanga, and Asanga brought them to us. And the book that we're taking today's piece from is called Gyu Lama. Say Gyu Lama. Gyu Lama means higher line. Gyu is a line, and Lama is high. It's also the word we use for a teacher, Lama. And in Sanskrit, this is called Uttara Tantra. Now, Tantra is this word Gyu. So here, Tantra does not mean, it means like a stream or continuation, a line. It doesn't mean the practices of Tantra or the practices of the secret teachings. The Diamond Way. It's not that. So that's the book we're using. And what he did, he wrote this very interesting, I think, straightforward presentation of the relationship between the cause and effect relationship between ignorance, which is misunderstanding reality, which is misunderstanding emptiness, right? And continued cycling in the circle of pain. The relationship between ignorance and being forced to take on over and over again births that are suffering. it's very, so the Buddha talked about the wheel of life. And this was written about, actually, Master Vasubandhu wrote a commentary on the wheel of life as well, which has 12 steps. And Maitreya's presentation has 6 steps. So that's one of the reasons I like it. It's a lot easier to keep in mind the relationship between misunderstanding our world and being stuck in the cycle of suffering. The first of the 6 parts is, I mean, basically we can say it's bakchak, it's karmic seed, karmic propensity. But what kind of bakchak is it? What kind of mental seed are we talking about? We're talking about dangzin ni. Say dangzin ni. Ni means 2 here. And dangzin, dang means self, and zin means to hold. So dang zin means holding to a self nature. So Maitreya's 6 steps in this circle begin with us coming into this life with the propensity, the karmic seeds, for the 2 tendencies of holding things as self-existent. And we have that propensity from those 2 kinds of propensities due to what we thought and did and said in our previous life. So we come into this world with this potential. The second step, as is just so simple, is due to having that propensity, due to having those kind of karmic seeds, the 2 tendencies to see things or hold to things as self-existent arises in our mind. Those seeds ripen, basically. Now, we said there are 2 kinds of these tendencies to hold things as self-existent. The first one is called kansaki dangzin. Say kansaki dangzin. Kansaki dangzin. So we have dangzin. We know that means to grasp or to hold to a self, the self nature. And kansak, that means person. So the first kind of the tendency to grasp to a self nature is to grasp to a self nature of persons. And what this means is me. To grasp to a self nature to me. It focuses on you. You focus on you. The second kind of tendency to grasp the self nature is chukidangzin. Say chukidangzin. Chukidangzin. Chu, we've had before, and it has different meanings. So here we're not talking about its meaning in the sense of dharma, in the sense of dharma teachings, but we're talking about things. So this is called the tendency to grasp to a self nature to things. And what this refers to primarily is my things. Things that I call mine. So, my thoughts, my different parts of this body and mind collection. So these two kinds of tendencies to hold on to or see a self nature are to me and mine. There was this animated film that came out. I don't know, it's quite a while ago now, and I can't even remember the name of it. It was about a fish that's finding Nemo or finding, anyways, this fish who's trying to find his little fish family. And they have all these very, very cute characters. But there's one part in the movie where he comes out from the bottom of the ocean and there are all these seagulls around. And the seagulls, all they did was say, mine, 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 mine. And I just burst out laughing because, that's the way we are with our stuff, our body for sure. Like, oh, if someone were to mistakenly step on our toe, it's like, oh, that's my toe. Or to move something that we own, that's mine. That's mine. And it is a very graspy, very tight feeling that we have about what's mine. Oh, that's my car. Be careful of my car. Don't hit my car. Hit that other car instead, not mine, not mine. So due to having the karmic seeds for these two types of tendencies, these two mistaken ways of thinking about me and mine arise in our mind. They become manifest, they ripen into grasping to a me that is independent, that is like a master of control. and mind, that this me, our wrong idea, that this totally existent me and totally in control me owns stuff, my hand, my finger. And we're so protective of what's mine. We think that that there's some existence to them that is independent of how we act with other people. We think it has nothing to do. We think me and mine have nothing to do with how we behave in the world, with how we treat other people. We think things happen to us. We think things happen to me and mine. Nga yiwa is just another way to say this chikidangzin, well, the ch part. It means what belongs to me, what I own. Now, when we are in the path of seeing, when we see emptiness directly for the first time, so the emptiness that we are in direct perception of is this absence of a me, that this absence of me having a self nature. That experience of seeing that directly in this state of deep meditation is what puts us on the road to get out of the cycle of suffering. That, you're called a stream enterer when you have seen emptiness directly, because you are on a stream that will take you to becoming, depending on what your motivation is and what karmas you've created, either nirvana, freedom from being in the cycle of suffering, or complete and total enlightenment, being free of the obstacles to omniscience and being able to help every living being. So now, back to our wheel of six. So we've got the first two. We've got the propensity for these two types of tendencies to hold to self-nature. And then we've got the ripening of that propensity into holding things the wrong way. So due to holding things the wrong way, what happens is yiyong, miyong, somin tok. We see things as being attractive or unattractive. This is beautiful and this is not beautiful. We hold them in the wrong, as being attractive or beautiful from their own side. So due to the ripening of those two propensities, for the tendency to hold the things as self-existent, things appear to us to be beautiful or ugly from their own side. The way Geshe Michael talked about this, he used the phrase "lok ching chilok," and that's he uses this English phrase, which is itself mixed up, which is back asswards. Usually people say ass backwards, but it's mixed up. We see things like totally wrong. And what this chinchilok is he said this very nicely. He said that doctre, oh, sorry, he didn't say that. He said, oh, that's in the next step. Sorry. So we're just seeing things that way. We're walking around, oh, I like that. That is pleasurable from its own side. That is ugly. And then due to that ripening, due to us having these kind of backwards thoughts, that the beauty or attractiveness and the ugliness exist within things, like I don't like raisins, and so it's the raisins that have this ugly taste to them. It's not, it has nothing to do with me. It's just, oh, they taste bad. So what happens next? Because we see it that way, then we want to get close to it if it's beautiful or pleasant, and we want to be away from it if it's ugly. So, and that's what we call ignorant liking and ignorant disliking. So, drelmen de, meaning that we don't. Drel means to be separated from. So, and min is one of those negative words. So, drelmen de means that we want to not be separated from something. That is duchak, which is the word for craving. Which Geshe Michael is translated as ignorant liking. And then drel de would mean that you want to be separated from, which means you don't want that thing. Shedang is anger, which Geshe Michael translates as ignorant disliking. And the reason, these words, duchak and shedang, they're very, when we hear craving and hatred or anger, we think of very strong, powerful emotions. But really, in this fourth step, it can be very subtle. Ignorantly disliking something can be as subtle as, a fly landing on our skin, and we we brush it away. We have this thought, I want to be separated from that sensation of this insect on my skin. I don't want that. So we swish it away. We're not thinking about that irritation of that tactical sensation, that physical sensation, came from us and something that we did in the past that brought some irritation to somebody else. So we're not thinking about how it is that things exist. Things are just appearing to us to be ugly or beautiful, and we then want to be close to or separated from these things. We're not at all thinking about where it comes from. We're thinking about this thing. I'm thinking about the fly. I'm not thinking about, oh, what have I done? This fly is bugging me. It's disturbing to me. What have I been doing that is disturbing to other people? What could I do differently in my life to not have this kind of experience again? So that's a more knowledgeable disliking, right? That's a disliking with wisdom, not to say that this thing is causing me some irritation or discomfort, but what can I do to not create a future experience that's similar? What have I been doing that is causing other people to be uncomfortable? So in the way that we're going, this is seeing things as attractive or unattractive from their own side leads to then ignorant liking and ignorant disliking. Wanting to be close to and wanting to be away from this thing that we think is attractive or not from its own side. Now, due to that ignorant liking and ignorant disliking arising in our mind, we act. We have a thought, we do some action, we act, and we collect karma. Le sak. Le we know is karma, and sak means to collect. And we act out of ignorance. Usually our sort of habitual pattern, because of who we are, we are in the realm of desire, in the cycle of suffering. Our reactions are the ones that want to bring things close to us or shoo them away. And so if we find something to be beautiful, if we find it pleasing to look at, for example, our friend's partner, we find to be a beautiful person, and we think that beautiful person is beautiful from their own side. It has nothing whatsoever to do with us. And we want to be close to that person. We want to, we don't care if it hurts our friend. We want to be with that person. We find them beautiful. I've met a lot of people who have this particular kind of grasping, you know. And we do, as women, I have experienced many times, unfortunately, but now I know why. Men grasping at me to want to be with me when I have no interest in being with them. And it's like they're driven. So it is a craving. It is like that desire just takes over the mind, or that aversion, that wanting to be away from, takes over the mind. Because what did I think? I thought that, that person, unattractive to me, the one who wants to be with me and is being very aggressive, I need to push away. I need to get away from that person. Has nothing to do with me. And that is a mistaken way of thinking about what's going on. What's going on is that I took things from other people, most likely somehow sexual in nature, because of this experience, without their permission, and in a way that was hurtful to them or someone close to them. And so that's why I have that experience. Now, does that mean that I have to sit back and take it? No, that does not mean that. It just means I understand where it comes from. And I understand what I need to do to create different experiences in the future, where I don't have experiences in the future of someone trying to take something from me that I don't want to give. I need to get away from that person. I can have that thought. I can have wisdom in my mind, understanding where this person comes from, right? And get away at the same time. I can do that. I need to do that. And it's the same with when we see, for example, other people who are in pain of some sort. Like the most ignorant thing we could say to someone would be, "Oh, it's just your karma. You know, you created that. It's your fault." And the reason I say that's like the most ignorant thing we could say is because we don't understand at that moment that saying that is creating a very negative experience for ourselves in the future, because that's hurtful. It's hurtful to hear someone say to you, "Oh, that's just your karma. You know, that's all your fault." That's not helpful in the moment. In the moment, that's not helpful. In the moment, a person needs some assistance to work with the immediacy of whatever the painful situation or potentially harmful situation is. They need safety, they need protection, they need help of some sort, and we should give that help. Later, when someone is not in the midst of some hurtful experience, we can talk about with them, where do things come from? How can you create a different experience in the future? But not while it's going on. That's not helpful. While things are going on, we need to protect ourselves and protect others. If we see someone about to harm someone else, we should do what we can to stop them from doing so. You know, as a mugger comes up to someone else and starts to rob them, it's not helpful for us to say, oh, that's your karma. That's not helpful. So that fifth step was, due to ignorant liking and disliking, we act. And it sort of goes without saying, we act without thinking. And then the sixth and final part of the wheel is called Korwar Kor. Say Korwar Kor. Korwar, that means in the circle. And Kor means to circle. So due to acting and collecting karmic seeds, we continue to circle in the cycle of suffering, in suffering life. The very next thing that he says, after talking about this cause and effect relationship between misunderstanding our world and being in the cycle of pain, and he says, Deshin Shekpe Nyingpo. He says this misunderstanding is not understanding the essence of all the Buddhas. Ningpo is essence or heart, and Deshin Shakpa is Buddha. So if we understood the essence of the Buddhist teachings, which is that nothing has a self nature, if we understood, we would not be in this cycle. We cut it at the root by understanding emptiness. We can cut at the root this cause and effect chain. It all starts with misunderstanding, with ignorance. Any questions about that? These 6 steps of Maitreya? Okay, now we're going to move on to Master Chandrakirti. And there's a section in your reading from his book, which is commenting on Aryanagarjuna. And it's called Chubap. Chubap, which literally means waterfall. But it's not really about a waterfall. And we'll get into it. So this is Master Chandrakirti presents a metaphor. And the metaphor is there is a glass of wet and flowing, which is the definition of water. Water is wet and flowing. But this is before we call it water. So those would be like the indicators, right? The qualities of water. So it's before we have the label. So there's a glass of wet and flowing sitting on a table. 3 different types of beings walk into the room. Each of them has a valid perception of this glass of wet and flowing. None of those 3 valid perceptions are the same. All 3, each of the 3 is valid. So let's talk about these 3 beings who walk in. The first kind of being that walks in is a human being. And when a human being sees this glass of wet and flowing, they label it water. That's what appears to them is water. They have a mental image, water. A deity or a pleasure being walks in, and they look at this glass of wet and flowing, and to them, they see ambrosia. In their world, they have streams of ambrosia flowing about. It's a liquid that brings them great pleasure. It's ambrosia. Then a hungry ghost or a craving spirit walks in, and they see this glass of wet and flowing. To them, it is a glass of pus and blood. Now, just to talk about these craving spirits for a moment, it's yidak in Tibetan, but these are beings that we can't see, but they are in the desire realm. I think we talked about them before, like there was some, hell beings are the lowest, and then there's some debate about whether animals are the next lowest or yidaks, craving spirits, are the next lowest. um, in the lower realms of the desire realm. So these craving spirits, they have very, very unfortunate existence, they appear in many different forms. Some of them have very tiny necks, and so when they go to eat or drink something, it can't pass through their neck. There's not enough space for fluid to flow or for any, food to get down into their stomach. Some of them, they see something attractive like cool water, and then when they go to drink it, it burns them horribly. So they stop drinking. Some of them, they see like, oh, there's a stream of water. And this is why this metaphor has the name of waterfall. They see this waterfall and they think, oh, something great to drink. I'm very thirsty. And as they approach and they're just about to drink, it turns into pus and blood, or the waterfall completely dries up. So there's these different kinds of craving spirits that have different experiences of things, but all of them have to do with something that they first think of as pleasant, as being something that's repulsive, disgusting, or inaccessible, like it's impossible to consume or drink. So our three beings walk in and they see this glass of wet and flowing on the table. Master Chandrakirti says there are three parts. And the first part is that the liquid, the wet and flowing, is what we call the Nirlengi Gyu. And that means the material cause. Material cause is like if we're talking about something existing over time, like for us, this glass of water, the water of this moment is the material cause of the water of the next moment. That's all that means. It's the same stuff. It's made of the same stuff. It's not made of something else. So one part is the material cause. Then the second part is what they call a contributing factor. And what this means is the karmic seed ripening into an experience of something. So from the mind-only school perspective, right, it could be a karmic seed that's ripening into both my sense object, my eyeball, seeing this glass of clear this color and shape, right? And then also ripening into my uh, my sense consciousness of perceiving a glass of liquid. And then by extension of the eye sense power, looking at this thing, there is this object as well. So from the mind only school perspective, it's the mind, it is the foundation consciousness that appears as the object, the sense power perceiving the object, the colors and shapes, and the consciousness that puts that together into glass of fluid. I really don't know that this is water until I taste it. I mean, it certainly looks like water. It's clear liquid, but it could be a nasty clear liquid. But I don't smell anything bad. Or so from the mind only school perspective, that's what's going on. From the middle way perspective, there is this indication, there is this contributing factor of wet and flowing in this glass. And then my karma ripens into a label that I project onto this basis. So the Nirlengi Gyu, the material cause, that's the basis onto which I'm projecting the conceptual thought. This is a glass of water. Now, what are the third of the three parts is that each being has a different valid perception of what this wet and flowing is to a human, to the human in the room. All three are there at the same time. There wouldn't be three parts if they weren't all three there at the same time. If only humans are in the room, it's just one part. It's just the material cause of wet and flowing and the bakchak that ripens into the label glass of water. Because we've got three beings in the room, we've got three parts. For the human, the karma has ripened into a label that we project onto the glass of wet and flowing as this is a glass of water. For the pleasure being, the contributing factor is this glass of wet and flowing. And for them, they have a karmic seed or bakchak that ripens into a label that they project onto this glass of wet and flowing as ambrosia. For the craving spirit, the hungry ghost, the Nirlengi Gyu, the material cause is the same. It's a glass of wet and flowing. And for them, a karmic seed ripens into a label that they project onto it. That's called pus and blood. Now, many questions arise with this metaphor. The first one being, how can how can one thing be three entirely different things? Three mutually exclusive things, right? If this is water, it cannot be ambrosia or pus and blood. If it is ambrosia, it cannot be water. It cannot be pus and blood. So that's why they say there are three parts. The real parts is the that karma ripening into an experience of something as being something. When any one of the beings is in solitary, is alone with this glass of wet and flowing, then there are no three parts anymore. There's just the one part. It's just a glass of what we're labeling as humans, we're labeling as a glass of water. If the human and the deity walked out of the room, then it would be a glass of pus and blood to the craving spirit who's still there. Another problem is that, well, if that's true, that this can be water, it can be ambrosia, it can be pus and blood, then anything can be anything. Pleasure can be pain. Red can be blue. But it doesn't mean that anything can be anything because of the ripening of a karmic seed that is forcing a label to be projected onto parts of the glass of wet and flowing. And it's not that one of the beings in the room is having a correct perception and the other two are having an incorrect perception. It's not that this really is water and the pleasure being is wrong, or they just think it's ambrosia, and the craving spirit is wrong, they just think it's pus and blood. It's like the pen. This is not really a pen. My cat thinks it's really a boring stick. If she were a dog, she might think it's a chew toy. something to play with. And she wouldn't be wrong. But it's not that she's just mistaken about what is a pen from its own side. No, it's this long, thin black thing is a pen because for me, a mental seed ripens in my mind and it projects pen onto this object. And it functions for me. I can write with it. I mean, it functions for her as a stick. I can try to get her to play with it. She's not really very keen on sticks, but she might play with it. And she wouldn't be wrong. You know, at that moment, she's correct for her. That's her experience of this thing. Nothing is anything from its own side. Nothing is anything without it or before it is experienced by some being as something, as forced to do so by the ripening of their karmic seeds into that process that we talked about at the beginning of class. It's just labeled by conception. Things are just labeled by conception. And being just labeled by conception, does that mean, oh, it's really not water? You know, I'm forced by my karma to label it as water. Since I'm forced to, and since it's a label and it's labeled by conception, by thought, does that mean this isn't water? Well, no. It functions as water. It's not that things don't really exist because they're just labeled by conception. That's how they exist. That's why they exist the way they do. That's how this all works. That's how our world is. Things being just labeled by conception. It's not a way to tear down our world into anything can be anything, or nothing is anything, or some people are right and some people are wrong. It's just no, that how things work, why things work. It's because they don't have any nature from their own side. It's our karmic seeds ripening from how we have behaved with other people, how we have harmed others, or how we have helped others in the past. So the reading is a little bit it's a little bit challenging, I will say, because there are different it's in debate format. So someone will come and say, "Oh, you're all wrong." And then because of this and that, and then Chandrakirti comes back and responds to them in debate format and proves how he's not wrong. So just have patience with it. Do the best you can. Uh, are there any questions about this metaphor of the glass of water? Maybe none of you have, material. Is the material cause define the material of things? So the material cause, in this case of uh, wet and flowing, uh, does it define the material of things? So it defines it. It it does define the material of what comes next. Yeah, yeah. Well, the wet and flowing, where does that come from? The material cause of wet and flowing. Um, so everything comes from seeds, the ripening of karmic seeds. Um, and as we look to see, oh, what is it, the basis that is the basis that holds the label, the thing that we are labeling. The glass of wet and flowing is the basis that holds the label water. Then you can look at, I mean, we're talking about causes, but you could also look at parts. I don't know enough about science to talk with any sort of anything coming close to an intelligent response about, where does wet and flowing come from? I would think there's some, like, at least from the Buddhist perspective, there are these different 5 different energies: earth, water, fire, wind, and space. And that in the Abhidharma Kosha, it talks about how all things have all 5 of those elements in them. They're the primary elements. And so these elements have different combinations, and therefore are different from each other, have some solidity, some fluidity. So I guess you would say the material cause of wet and flowing would be some combination of these 5 elements. But I've never heard anyone speak about that related to this metaphor before. So that's just my guess. Oh, I tried to end on time. I'm sorry. I didn't. I apologize. So um, please do, when we hang up our call, please do dedicate uh, your being here in this course, your being attentive and participating in this course, and dedicate it towards reaching your highest goal. And thank you to the live translators. I appreciate you so much. Um, thank you, thank you. You do magic. And thank you, ACI. And thank you, Internet. And thank you, Zoom. And most especially, thank you, Geshe Michael, for creating these courses. Okay, so I will see you next week. And remember, next week we just have one class, and that's on Wednesday, Arizona time. And because Friday, Arizona time, Geshe Michael will be teaching in Mexico. So hopefully you are participating in that course too. It's really quite beautiful. Okay, so I'll see you next week. Thank you so much.